So you can ignore this video if you've got ads running for your coaching business and every single dollar from that ad is being recovered immediately, aka a self-liquidating offer. If you've got that in your business right now and you've got more buyers than you know what to deal with and your ads aren't costing you any money, you can feel free to close this video because you're sorted. But the reality is, for a lot of coaches that are running ads, that's just not the case. Either they're not selling low ticket offers through their ads, they haven't established a funnel that gets them that return yet because, that's not their specialization, or they're still working towards it, or that's not the type of funnel that they're running. There could be multiple reasons. Essentially, if you're in a position where you're spending money on ads to ideally grow your email list, and then there's a delay in you recovering that money because people need time to be nurtured, they need to see your content, they need to watch your videos, all these kind of things, and you'd rather that you have more money coming in sooner in order to cover the costs of those ads. I've got a little strategy that I want to walk through with you today that I think will help. Okay, so what are we talking about here? The goal is to design a monthly or ad hoc, if you don't want to do every month, what I call a workshop system. And this can bring us in cash in a number of different ways that I'm going to talk to you about. And we can essentially allocate that cash flow to our ad expenses. Okay, now you could either do this forward looking or backwards looking. You could either, let's say you spent, $5,000 on ads in January. In the first week of February, you could look to do something like this in order to, recover $5,000 or as close as possible. Okay. Now, this expense and this income stream obviously don't perfectly correlate, but one thing I like to do, and you may resonate with this kind of mindset or perspective, and you may not, which is equally fine. But one thing I like to do is pair expenses and income, right? So for example, I got a couple of low ticket recurring offers. I've got a monthly memo. I've got a new network that I've started, which is kind of like a mastermind community. And they take me a couple of hours each a month to run, and they cover all of the fixed costs of my business, right? Now, those income streams and those costs aren't directly correlated, right? But they all sit under the business umbrella, and mentally I like to match them together, right? I've also made a lot of money from affiliate commissions, and I sometimes think about that as like, well, they pay the rent. It's just a perspective. It's a mindset of how you look at different income streams and different, cost centers within your business and within your life. Okay, so if you're running ads, you've got money going out the door and it's not immediately being recovered, you can deploy this approach, bring in some cash, and use it to pay off the credit card, and then time can go on, and you can ultimately get your return on investment, however long that ultimately takes for people to invest into your higher ticket offers in your coaching or consulting business. Okay, so that's a little preamble. With that out of the way, let's dive into how we do this. Okay, I've kind of discussed this already, but essentially what we're doing is we're going to be pre-selling a live workshop. Okay, and so when I say a workshop, this is a session that is going to go for 90 to 120 minutes. It's going to be a live session that you deliver a training on. We're going to charge between $50 and $100, and we're going to focus on solving a specific problem. Okay, so if you head over to jacobcaris.com/workshops, you'll see some examples of these. Okay, I've got one there on my YouTube system for how I've turned 6,500 subscribers into well over $1 million on YouTube. I've got one there for my Facebook group system, which is how I get clients out of my Facebook group in 60 minutes per week. I've got one there on my content system, my personal branding system. You can see they're tackling specific topics. Okay, and these are all 1 to 1.5 to 2 hour trainings, and they're all at the $100 price point. And I might have done a pre-sale at say $50 in order to get some people in to rock and roll. And so that's what I'm really talking about here. When we initially sell it, we're going to deliver it live. Then ultimately we can flip it evergreen and sell the recording. Okay. So what I want to talk to you about in this one is how do you go about doing this, and how do you go about doing this the right way? And then when you've done it, how do you maximize the income that you generate from it? Okay, so we just touched on the design specifics, if you will, or the logistics of rolling, something like this out. And we've touched on price, we've touched on duration. An additional optional element, if you want, in addition to the main live session, you can also bolt on a Q&A component. So this would be a second call that I would recommend that you probably do 1 to 2 weeks after, just so that people have had time to either show up live and then go and use some of the information, or if they couldn't come live, they've watched the recording and had a chance to use some of the information, and then they can come to the follow-up call with questions and you can answer them and kind of round it out as a nice, 2-part package. Okay, that's just another element you might want to include, and I'll talk to you a little bit about how to integrate that. And then I would recommend maximum 7 to 10 day promotional window, but you can probably even go shorter, 3, 4, 5 days. It just really depends how hard you want to push it. I also think it probably depends how frequently you do these. If you're going to do them every month, I'd run a shorter promotional cycle. If you're going to do them, less frequently, you'd stretch it out, squeeze more, juice out of it. Okay. Let's break down the implementation framework. Okay. So the very, very first thing is we need to select a topic. Okay. So if you're a coach or a consultant, which is probably why you're here, you will have a and B that your clients want to go from and want to go to. Ideally, you're clear on that. Then ideally within that, you're going to have some core pillars, which is the model that you help them implement, the system, the framework, your area of expertise. That's going to have core pillars within it. Okay. And then within each of those core pillars, there's going to be different steps, different elements, different strategies, different tactics, different nuances, tips, tricks, insights that you can provide based on your experience, based on your own results, and based on your client results. Okay, so if I talk to you about the examples that I said before, if you go over to jacobcaris.com/workshops, one of them is my YouTube system. Okay, so if we break down what I do, I help people build a lifestyle consulting business, right? The end goal is ultimately something very lean, very efficient, where it's yourself, maybe 1 or 2 other team members, you're getting clients without sales calls, and it's very, very enjoyable to run. Now, I have people that come from 2 positions to ultimately work with me. Either they've got an existing business that they've fallen out of love with, the costs are really high, it's overly complex, they're sick of a sales team. I got clients doing, anywhere from, in my inner circle, doing anywhere from $10K a month to $1 million a month. And so we're working on pivoting the business over to this model. But then within my academy, and I've got links to both of these in the description, within my academy, I'm actually working with people on getting up to the 10K per month mark. Okay, but regardless, the end result is the same. It's this lean, efficient lifestyle consulting business. Okay, now within that transformation, whichever one it may be, there's some core pillars, right? And one of those core pillars is building a brand ecosystem. Okay, so this is getting your name out there in front of new people every day, and then the people that know you, nurturing them. Okay, now within that pillar, one of the platforms that we use to do this, which is probably where you're watching this video right now, is YouTube. Okay, and so you can see how we've drilled down from the core transformation to the major core pillars to one component of one of the major core pillars. Okay, and so we want to get to that kind of level of nuance. I would recommend the more curiosity that can be associated with it, the better. If you compare it to, say, my personal branding one, which is obviously a bigger topic, the YouTube one sold a lot more units because it's more specific and because there's a lot more curiosity attached to it, because I'm talking about how I've turned 6,500 subscribers into well over 7 figures, which is pretty unheard of. So the more curiosity and the more specific, the more sales you are going to get. Okay, now one thing to consider, however, is that the most sales on the front end may not necessarily correlate to most sales on the back end. The success of the ascension of people from the front end to the back end is going to be more associated with the congruency between the problems that you solve, right? So I probably got a lot of people who bought because they were interested in YouTube, but then a bunch of them wouldn't have upgraded because I'm not a YouTuber, right? I'm a business guy who talks about stuff on YouTube. Like, I'm not going to help them with their high production videos and all that kind of shit. And so if they want to go further in terms of YouTube, I'm not really the person to turn them into like the next Mr. Beast. So that's just something to think about. The other element when it comes to topic selection is you've actually got to want to talk about it and teach on it. You've got to enjoy it, and you've got to be excited about it, because that's going to dictate the energy that you ultimately show up with. Okay. So that's the first thing. The next one is, once you've got the idea, right? We're not going and creating the product. Remember, we're going to pre-sell it and we're going to deliver it live. So you've got what I call the sales asset creation. All right, you've got a couple of options here. I obviously sell my higher ticket stuff with Google Docs, and that's definitely an option for the lower ticket one. The way I approach the lower ticket, these types of workshops, is just through like a one-page sales funnel. And on that sales funnel, there's a couple of core elements. There's a headline. There's usually a 2 to 4 minute VSL where I'll literally just like grab my phone and be like, hey, I'm doing a workshop on this topic. I'm going to cover A, B, C, and D. You're going to leave and you're going to know how to do Z, Y, X. It's on this date. It's this much. There's also going to be a bonus Q&A. There's more written details below. Click the button if you want to jump in, right? Like, it doesn't need to be this 30-minute VSL. It's like $50 or $100. It's an impulse decision. Do you want to solve this problem or not? Do you want this information or not? Do you want to understand how I do this or not? Okay, so there's a headline, there's a VSL. Then I pretty much just take the transcript from the VSL, spin that into some written copy, make sure that it's crystal clear, the time, the duration, whether there'll be a replay or not, which I would encourage you to give to people. Whether there's a Q&A session, all that kind of stuff. And then just a buy button. I just do like a really simple one-page funnel. I can crank them out quickly, and it works really well. But you can also just write it up in a document and put a buy link in there. That works as well. Or however you see fit. You don't need to over-engineer the sales asset. Like I said, it's $50, $100. It doesn't need to be crazy. Okay. Then we're talking about the launch timeline. Okay. I would break this up into two parts. We'll talk about the you'd almost call it the pre-sale and then the actual launch itself. What I would recommend that you do is, if you've got a bit of runway and if you've got a bit of time, if you're going to do a workshop in, say, February, and let's say it's January now, do a little like 48-hour pop-up sale where you sell it for $50. Okay, you're going to do this for a couple of reasons. You get some cash flow in, you get to bring in some buyers who you could start talking to even before the actual workshop happens, because it tells you who's really paying attention. And then 3, you start to get a feel for how, I guess, on the mark the offer is, and so it gives you the chance to tweak it a bit before you do the main promotion, and tell people like it's like 48 hours, it's $50 instead of $100. Grab it if you want. You don't even really need the sales asset ready at that point. You can just put the details in an email or in a post, and then literally just give people a checkout page, because it's such a low price, and it's one of those very like snap decisions. But I would encourage you to do that, get a bit of momentum rolling, and then as you get closer to the actual live workshop, do the proper push at the full price for another 3 to maximum 10. 10's really pushing it, but 3 to 5 to 7 days. Okay. From a marketing approach, really going to depend on your business and the assets that you've got, but I'd be doing a daily email, at least one. You could probably crank that up to 2 as you get closer to the workshop itself. Hit your stories on social media. I probably wouldn't bother too much with like creating YouTube videos. You could definitely run some basic remarketing ads. You could even just take the VSL, use that as the video in the remarketing ad, link to the sales page, boom, done. Remarket to your email subscribers, all this kind of stuff. I wouldn't be doing promotional posts on social media every day. You could definitely do one for the pre-sale. You could do one to kick off the main promotion, one in the middle of it, and then like a final notice. That would probably be the maximum, so that you're not really like burning out your social media as part of the promotion. And that's really all you need, right? Like, just make sure that as many of the people in your audience as possible can see it. You can take this one step further, either yourself or get your assistant to do it. And I would definitely recommend that you do this. Hit your warm pipeline who are in the DMs or whoever have been replying to emails, but haven't converted into a 4 or 5 figure offer. This can be a great stepping stone. So like, they're out here in the audience at the moment. You ultimately want them up here in your 4 or 5 figure coaching consulting offer. Let's put this opportunity in front of them, and we can be very, very direct about it. We can literally say, hey, I know we were talking about blank program. Timing obviously wasn't right. I'm doing this thing on this topic on this date. Here's the details. And then you'll get a really good uptake rate if the offer's on point. Or you can ask for permission to send it, right? That might just be like, hey, I'm doing a presentation or I'm doing a workshop on X topic. Would it be appropriate for me to send you the details? If they say yes, you send them the link. Again, you're going to get a good uptake rate from your warm leads. Worst case, they buy that thing and then they don't ascend, and you've still extracted a bit more cash from your audience, and you've progressed that relationship. They're a little bit closer. They've spent a bit more time with you. And so if they do upgrade later, it's now more likely. But best case, they buy it, they love it, and they jump up, and you've just accelerated what was a dead lead in your inbox. Okay. When it comes to delivery, I just do these over Zoom. Then I download the recording. You can put it into, your course platform or whatever it is you use. You can do it in a really basic way. You can just unlisted videos on YouTube and send that out to people as well. But after you've done it live, get the recording out to people as quickly as possible, because you want them to consume it. Not everyone's going to show up live. You might get, 20 to 40% of your buyers show up live. 40 would be a good outcome. And so get the recording into people's hands ASAP so that they can actually go through it. You don't want them to buy it and forget about it, because the more they consume, the more likely they are to ultimately ascend up to your main offers, which is, a big part of why you do these types of offers, in addition to the cash flow immediately, etc. Okay. So that's really the implementation framework. If you want to look at multiple revenue paths that we can establish out of this, the first one is obviously the live workshop sales, and we can split that into two as we did the pre-sale and the main sale. Within that, you can feel free to bolt on order form bumps, upsells to other courses or other workshops that you've got. Once you've done a few of these, you can start to cross-sell them. You could bundle, right? So you could, let's say you've got a new one, you could bundle up all the old ones for a discount and make that an upsell. So you've got the real-time sales when someone buys the live workshop. Then once you've done it and you've got the recordings, flip that same sales funnel to evergreen, like you can see on my website, and then they can just sell round the clock, all right? Obviously, upselling, you should reach out to all the people that buy, or have someone on your team reach out to all the people that buy and have a conversation with them about what does it look like next? What's the opportunity to work together? Integrate them into your ecosystem. Put them on your website. Integrate them into any email follow-up sequences. Mention them from time to time where relevant in your content, right? Like if someone buys one, they get a great result with it, share the testimonial and link to it on your stories. It's all just, extra gravy between your main 4-5 figure sales. And then if you've got, any recurring offers, pitch these people, it's like a cross sell into going from paying you $100 one time to $100 a month. Okay. And so you can really turn the one transaction into multiple income streams if you get creative with it. Right. And all of this is just going to help cover costs. A chunk of it may end up flowing to the bottom line depending on the overall structure of the business. And they're really easy and really fun, right? Especially if you pick topics that you really, really want to teach on. It's like you can pull these together so quickly. You bring in a bunch of cash immediately. You get to do a training on a topic that you should be really, really interested in. And then you see who's paying attention in your audience. And ideally, you sign a number of clients at effectively the same time. Okay, so this is a really, really cool model. There's a lot of ways that you can, tackle this. We've spoken about, from a marketing perspective, we've really touched on this already. You integrate it into, send emails, put it into your social media content, hit it out to your warm pipeline. When it comes to your existing customer base, if you've got people, that you're consulting with more directly or coaching more directly who are in a 4 or a 5 or a 6-figure type offer, I would just give this to them for free. It's a great way to, teach them new stuff. It's a great way to build goodwill because people love getting stuff for free, and you get to spend more time with your clients. They can also come on and be, cheerleaders to a degree. If they've had a good experience with you and then they're on the call and there's people who aren't clients, it can, it creates a really healthy and high energy environment. Okay. A couple of common mistakes that I want to just, alert you to as we're moving through this. The first one is topic selection, right? Going too broad and too generic. Like I was talking about before, the YouTube one sold incredibly well because of how specific and curiosity driven. If you try and teach everything, or it's really bland or really generic, it's going to be harder to sell. That's not to say you won't sell, because if you've got a strong rapport with your audience, you'll still move units of it, but you're just making it harder for yourself. Okay. If it's misaligned to your audience, or it's not necessarily something that you're known for, or it's not the reason that they're there. Okay. So as much as you can, align it to that core transformation that you help your people go through. And like I said, make it a subset of it, or a subset of that core process. And then really, a weak value proposition. Like, it's not curious, or they can't see the upside, or they can't see how it makes them money, saves them time, reverses something that's costing them money. This is more of a marketing thing, but because with good marketing, you can pretty much spin any angle. But weak value proposition, or weak perceived value proposition, okay, under really around the topic itself. Okay, you're picking the wrong, it could be the right topic, but the wrong angle. All right. More on marketing issues, trying to make the funnel too complex, like making people opt in for something free and then all these different steps and layers. Just put the fucking offer in front of them, and it's $100, right? Like, if they buy, great. If they don't, great. Make sure you're leveraging urgency. Like, if you're going to have a deadline, and then stick to the deadline. Make your deadlines like real things. Okay. Poor timing. What I mean here is, like, if you do a massive launch and you pull a ton of cash out of your audience, and then like the next day you try run one of these, you may still make money if it's hitting a different segment of the audience, but if they've got a bit of fatigue from the promotion that you just wrapped up. So just look at it as part of your broader marketing schedule and campaign schedule, and just make sure that it's, the common sense, right? And then execution, overcomplicating delivery, right? Trying to make it all perfect, trying to make it all fancy. Just get them the value, get them the information, and then answer the questions if you do a follow-up Q&A. Make sure you record it. If you've sold a recording and you fuck up recording it, you're going to have to do it again, because otherwise you can't deliver the thing that you sold, right? And then people do these and they don't flip them evergreen, which is crazy, because it's literally free money. That's not to say you're going to sell a heap of them, but you may as well have it sitting in your ecosystem, integrated into all the, your different lead magnets. And if you sell a couple a week, it's like, all right, $100, sell 3 of them a week. It's like another $1,000, $1,200 a month. I'll take it, right? It's not all the money in the world, but it all helps. It all helps, covers costs. And then once you've covered your cost, it all flows to the bottom line, which is, money you can reinvest to grow more, improve your lifestyle, whatever it may be. Okay. So, rounding this all out, where we originally started, you're running ads, or you want to run ads, but you're bleeding a bit of money, and there's a time delay until you can recover it through your 4 and 5 figure offers. There's a lot of different strategies that you can, use to recover, but this is a really, really cool approach to it. Really fast to deploy, a lot of fun if you keep it simple and have fun with it. It can bring in a bunch of money directly, and then there's all those different, monetization strategies that sit around it. And then you can take that cash and use it to cover the cost of ads, and then any surplus, you can run more ads. The other thing too is the people that don't convert immediately, you've now got buyers, and those people are more likely to buy again, whether that's your main offers, or the next workshop that you launch, or the continuity that you launch, or the event that you launch. Like, you've got buyers who will likely buy more things if you do a good job. You've now got more, you're getting paid to create evergreen assets. You're creating evergreen client ascension paths. It's a chance to get more testimonials that you can feed back into your marketing, and it just helps you manage cash flow along the way. Okay. So I would take this for a spin, whether you want to use it to pay for your ads or not. Take this system, use it. I think you'll enjoy it. I'll talk to you all in the next video. Cheers.